The first movie that I ever did, I stood behind a podium like this, and I pretended like I was a very highly educated man. And when I share my story with you, maybe you will change your opinion. But my hand didn't shake in that introduction. In that, I don't know if you've heard of that show. It's called Munna Bhai. Yes. It might be shaking here today. Simply because this is quite a momentous occasion, and I'm very, very proud to be here and listening to my two friends talking about the culinary world, and that's how you spoke so lucidly and beautifully. Thank you very much. A big round of applause to the speakers. Okay, so for those, how many of you, this is my fourth speech here in the UK in the last 3 or 4 years. This is business school, am I right? Yeah. I've got nothing to teach you as far as business is concerned. So let's see what I can share. I'll talk to you about my journey and what I learned in that journey, and maybe it will be of some use to you. Right? My name is Boman Irani, and I'm an actor, in case you don't remember. And did I tell you the story about, because things are being repeated, story about the guy on the airplane?
Yes.
Can I say it again? Because I love that joke. And they always say start with a joke, right?
Yes.
I was on a flight. Actually, this is for you because you're watching me. How many of you are singing for the first time once again? Okay, sunset, no problem. Shall I repeat that silly joke? No problem. One guy walks on the flight, I'm sitting there, and this guy came and he went apoplectic and he said, my favorite actor, my favorite actor, and he was shouting in the plane, yelling and shouting, and then finally he comes up to my ear and says, "Lekin aapka naam kya hai, bhai?" So from that day on, never assume anything. All right. So there will be some repeats. I was dyslexic, dyscalculic, didn't get great marks. I didn't speak very much because I used to lisp. I used to lisp a lot, and every time I spoke, everybody used to laugh. I used to stick my tongue out till here and spoke just like virus. Yeah. Plus, I had a squeaky voice, and I used to stutter and I used to stammer. So every time I spoke, and everybody used to laugh. Yeah, thank you very much. Very kind of you, yeah. Especially for this young man over here sitting over here who has no license but asks very tough questions to everyone. Give him a big hand. So can you imagine this very nervous boy never spoke. Teachers used to write in my remarks section, he's very reticent, he doesn't speak. You know why? Because I was afraid people would make fun of me. It took me many years to understand what it is, what Kapil Singh said, "Jo dar gaya, samjho mar gaya." Because you can't afford to be afraid, but what I see in this generation, nobody seems to be afraid at all, especially this young COVID. I'll tell you what happened. I was born posthumously. My father passed away 6 months before I was born. And because of that, I was surrounded by women and protected and loved. And that's a good thing, that's not a bad thing. But I was always so protected that I was very afraid. And I didn't speak. And I used to lisp. And I used to squeak. Now I come in front because I have more confidence. And one day, in school, there was a concert. And I was on stage with the choir, a group of boys, with my hands folded like this. And my mother was sitting in the audience. And she looked at me and she smiled. And of course, there were no mobile phones then. It's a horrible habit that we have, taking pictures. And my mother saw me standing on stage, and I was smiling. And I was smiling and I was singing away. And that is when my mother realized that's where he likes to be, on stage. On a wooden stage, in front of an audience, with the lights and the sound of the mic. And she encouraged me. Even though my marks weren't great, she encouraged me to go to the theater. She encouraged me to go to a speech therapist. She encouraged me to see cinema every day, because my education happened through cinema. I would go to the Alexander Cinema School right opposite my home and watch a movie every day. And can you imagine a woman whose husband has passed, she's about 31 years old, encouraged her son, who should be turning her life around, encouraged her son to watch movies because she saw that in my eyes that I love that world and his education will happen in that world. One day, she was sitting at the shop. We were shopkeepers. My father, my grandfather, as I told you the other day, shopkeepers. And she was sitting at the shop and I was all of 11 years old and I thought I knew how to make a movie back in the day. I knew exactly how to make a movie because I watched every movie that came to town 30, 40 times. Right? And a friend of my father, his name is Farouk. He would come and he would sit at the shop and he asked my mom, he would chat about the good old days, my father was alive. And Farouk uncle said, what's going on at the novelty cinema? And mommy said, there's a Charlton Heston classic called El Cid that's going on. I said, oh, I would have loved to have seen that film. And my mother said, Boman will take you to watch the film. Boman will take you, and I am 11. And he'll help you understand the film. And she empowered me, and this is the point I'm trying to make. Empower people. Empower youngsters. And today, thanks to this young man, who empowers all of you. Empowers all of you. Come here to Oxford. Listen to people like you, so that you can go home richer for this very experience. And I'll tell you why she empowered me and how she empowered me. Farooq uncle was blind. You understand? He was blind. And my mother sent me to the theater with Farooq uncle so that I could explain the story to him as a blind man. And that made me a storyteller, to dramatize what you could see on screen to a blind man. From that day on, I felt strong and I felt powerful, just as all of you will feel when you go back home to Mumbai and share these experiences with your friends. You are all empowered. This is your Farooq uncle moment. I passed 10th standard. I mean, that's a joke in itself, right? You're allowed to laugh. I shared with you my experience the other day, or yesterday in Parliament, about my first job in Sampara. You remember this? Yes. Yeah, say it in a nutshell. He said, oh, what department you want to join? I said, food and beverage. He's saying, in a hotel, everything is about food and beverage, you idiot. Which department? I said, rendezvous. He said, you have a want. That's good. The rendezvous restaurant is a French restaurant. And he said, start from the basement, you idiot. That's exactly what he said. And what you mentioned and reiterated, and you did, you have to pay your dues. So anyway, joined the shop, I had that experience, and finally I had to do what my mother really thought I would be good at in the theater or in cinema. I've got 2 stories to tell you during that journey. Before I joined the theater, I was broke. I had no money, and I had one single camera. A Pentax K1000, which is you click and you wind, click and wind, not like the cameras we have today. And I was very good at sports photography. So I would go to schools and shoot sports events. And I would pay 20, 25 rupees per shot. But I wanted to do a big event. So I spoke to you yesterday about the big event being the World Cup of Boxing. And I went to the World Cup of Boxing to become the official photographer. And I narrated that story to you. Do you remember that one? Yes. And the guy asked me about potatoes and onions and what have you, and he said, no, you got the job. Anyway, I got the job. So we skip that part and come to the main event. Now I'm with my camera, and I have got a job from the Norwegian Boxing Committee to take 3 photographs of the only sponsored boxer in that World Cup. It's my first job. And I'm standing there with my little camera, which I used to call Alfred. And I used to talk to Alfred. Alfred being my conscience in many ways. Alfred, we got to take nice pictures. Alfred, we got to take great pictures. Alfred, we got to take international pictures. Alfred, we got to take pictures that will make us proud. Talk to yourself. Talk to your Alfred within you. Okay? But then all the other photographers came along. They came with tripods and big lenses, and I got scared. And I said to myself, this is not going to work. And I said to myself, Alfred brought me here. Never lose faith in your resource. Don't look at other people's tripods, and don't look at other people's bazookas, don't look around you. Have tunnel vision and stick to the program. And then what happened? I lost faith again for a second, because the Norwegian boxer who I was supposed to cover for 3 photographs of glory was being beaten the hell out of by the German boxer. So I was thinking I was going to get $180 for those 3 pictures, and I could see those $180 flying away, yeah, because it was $60 a picture. And I said, oh my God, I'm losing my money. And I said to myself, don't think about the money. The worst advice someone can give anyone in a business school. But I'm giving it to you today. I said, don't think about money. Then what do you think of if you're not thinking about money? The commitment. If you made a commitment, you have to deliver. So I looked into Alfred, and I focused, and I said, maybe he'll swing one, and if he swings one and he connects, then maybe I'll have that one picture. Just as Amitabh Bachchan said, Amara Anthony? No.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. Because sometimes you'll get just that one window of opportunity. And sure enough, the Norwegian boxer swung one roundhouse onto the German guy's chin, and bam, he went down. And by the time he got the first shot, I got some sweat, I got the guy rocking, I got up on the floor, and 3 times, I got the shots. If I was thinking about the other photographers and their tripods and their big lenses, or if I was thinking about my $180 flying away, I would never have gotten those pictures. So focus on the job that you have. Focus on the job. I took those pictures, we sent them to Norway, those guys were very excited, and he said, so how much are you going to charge? I didn't know, because I didn't want to say 180 because I thought you get $100 a picture also. So I didn't want to commit because I'm not a professional. So I said, international rates, which means they pay me what you pay anybody else in the world. And that's a good answer, right? You'll be proud of what you do. However, he came back, and picked up the phone. This is Norway, 4 a.m. in the morning. Zenobia wakes up. She was not as smartly dressed as she is today, but she's standing there and said, how much? I said, hold on, because now I can think about the money, right? And she's standing, because we were broke, okay? So I said, either it's 180 for the 3 pictures, or it's 300 for the 3 pictures. I said, Mr. Irani, and I'm doing a really bad Norwegian accent, Mr. Irani, we love the photographs. So if we have 3 pictures, we'll give you $300. I said, yeah, top money. And Zenobia started doing the Ramba and the Samba in the early morning. Yeah, we started dancing. And then finally, he said, super, thank you, go to the manager and collect your money. I said, okay. So for 3 pictures, yeah. Go and collect your $900. The point I'm making is, right, I focused, I did not lose hope with the resource that I had, little Alfred. That window of opportunity was not missed, and I practiced really hard to take those 3 pictures. So $900, and he said, Mr. Irani, and I'm not answering, right? Mr. Irani! Mr. Irani! You're not happy? I said, I'm very happy, sir. Zenobia and I hugged, danced. It was not an anniversary, but we do that tonight. And I went and collected my $900. A week later, Zenobia calls me and said, there's a check for $900 waiting for you. I said, no, they've already paid us. What are you talking about? She said, no, I don't know, it's here. I said, don't lodge it. I was out of town. And I opened it and I said, lovely check with a dollar sign on it. My God, for a guy who was broke, looked beautiful. It's the most beautiful poetry you can ever see on it written, right? And I opened it and it was written $900 for reprinting your photographs. What's that all about? There were no websites. I thought they had overpaid me to begin with. And they're sending me $900 more just because they reprinted them. A week later, they sent another $900. And then when I'm walking around celebrating anniversaries every single day. A week later, they sent another 900 and another 900. And they kept sending us $900. Why? They were not obliged to. But the one word that comes to mind over here, ethics. Nothing. I didn't know. The magazine was called Viki, also I heard. V-E-E-G-E-E, Viki. Alright? You remember the name? Do you remember the name of the manager who scolded me about paying my dues? Sam Bhara. Will you remember the name? Someone remember the name? Yeah, please? Sam Bhara and Viki. Right. I started photography as a professional. And there was a pandemic and a lockdown. Have you heard of this lockdown from 35 years ago? No, because it never really happened. It only happened to me. It was a personal lockdown. No one entered my studio that I had opened and taken a personal loan. Bad businessman. Personal loan. Nobody entered. Which means it's a lockdown. I'm sitting there waiting for the doors to open for clients and customers to come in. So what does one do in a lockdown? What do we do in a lockdown? The smart ones sharpen their skills. The not so smart ones worry and wallow in self-pity. And we will have personal lockdowns, remember, when things don't go right. Remember the all is lost moment we spoke about yesterday or the day before. You will have those all is lost moments, and that was my all is lost moment. Right? But I practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced. Just shooting a mug from every single corner. Because when the work will start, you should be prepared. You should have polished your skills and your arrows and sharpen them as best as possible. Right? Because this is your opportunity to learn. Polish your skills now, because once you become professionals, you might not have the time to learn anymore. Right? Anyway, I'm going to tell you a little sad story. I was so broke, I couldn't pay for my rice plate. I was so broke. That was an 11 rupee rice plate. I was so broke, I did not have money to put in my little scooter. So when the petrol used to run out, I had to get on the scooter and march it home. And walk a scooter home. That's embarrassing. Once a guy shouted at me and said, "Arey, bhai sahab, petrol pump kudhar hai?" I can't tell him I don't have petrol in there, right? So I was saying, carburetor mein kachra hai. I don't take it home. Embarrassed. My wife, Zenobia, she comes up to me and says, "You look very sad today." I said, "Yeah, possibly yes." Because I was paying interest upon interest for the loan that I had taken. Because nobody came to the studio. You know why? Because I had not paid my dues. I just assumed that somebody was paying me $900 for 3 photographs of boxing. I assumed that people would think that I'm a great photographer when it comes to advertising. So I had not paid my, did not know my what? My onions about advertising photography. So I spent that time learning my onions about advertising photography. And Zenobia comes and says, "Please take this jewelry, it's my wedding jewelry. Go and sell it and pay off that loan." I said, "Please don't do this to me." She says, "You know what?" She says, "You think if I wear this jewelry, I look pretty? Where are we going, first of all? Jahan ka rahe hum log? Ghar mein to baithe the. So you think by wearing this jewelry I look pretty? Look at your face. You always make people laugh, and you're having that glum face around you, on the worn on your face. Go pay off that loan and smile and be happy. Because when you smile, I'll smile. And when I'll smile, I might look pretty. You know, this is the way you've got to be courageous sometimes when you are down in the dumps. And strangely, the day after that, things changed. It just so happens that when you show an act of courage, there will be, fortune does favor the brave. I tell you that, my dear friends. Things started changing. Sharma Dhamma walks into my studio one fine day and looks around the studio and says, "You're going to be very famous." I said, "Doing what?" He's psychic, you know that. Who said psycho? Not psycho, I never said psycho. Who said psycho? Psycho. And he said, I said, doing what? Photography. He says, I don't know. I took his photographs. And 9 months later, he comes to my studio and says, I'll take you for lunch. Instead of taking me for lunch, he takes me to Alec Baldwin's place for an audition. I said, I'm not an actor, I can't afford. He said, don't lie. Every bone in your body says that you're an actor. And I got a job as an actor for a 3-minute role. And Sir Laurence Olivier had said there are no small parts, only small actors, and he's absolutely right. And I took up that part for 3 minutes, and I practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced like it was a lockdown. I practiced, and this is the one quotation I'll make tonight. Bruce Lee, you know Bruce Lee?
Yes.
Bruce Lee said, I do not fear the man who has 1,000 kicks, but I fear the man who has one kick and practices it 1,000 times. So I learned that. Continue polishing my little act of 3 minutes. And then one fine day, I come on the stage. The play wasn't going so well, not going well at all, in fact. I get on stage and I do my bit, and I was happy. And people clapped, and people applauded. You know why? Because I'm happy. If you're not happy, you can't make other people happy. In whatever you do, in whatever business do you, whatever craft that you have, whatever you may do, please be happy and believe in what you're doing. Because if you're not having a good time, the other guy is not going to have a good time. If I'm making this speech here today, believe me, I'm having a good time. Except for that guy who's a little dopey right now. So I came on stage and there was a lovely applause, right? Something very, very beautiful happened that day. My mother was sitting in the audience right there, somewhere where she was in school, and saw me again on that stage, and she saw her son at the age of 37 become an actor. With that wooden stage below me, and the lovely sound of the mic and the lights. And from then, I got role after role after role after role in the theatre. And one fine day, a gentleman called Boman Irani offers me a role in the film. Well, I've got a 3-hour speech, okay guys? I'm going to throw in an extra 5 minutes. And he said, I've got a role for you. I said, wow. He said, it's an experimental film. And we're going to shoot it on Handycam. Now, Handycam, let me tell you, 25 to 27 years ago, was what your uncles brought from the UK to shoot your weddings, okay? You know the one I'm talking about. Yeah, they would shoot the starters, they would shoot the lights, they would shoot everything. We decided to make a movie on a Handycam, write it ourselves, rehearse it for 6 or 7 months, and shoot it in 7 days. Because we couldn't afford to do a full-blown shoot. And we wrote it, and wrote it, and wrote it, and shot it in 7 days, and it was ready. And I asked Madhani, when are we going to release the movie? He said, who said we were going to release the movie? I said, then why did we make the movie? He said, because our names are on it, and that's why we rehearsed for it so much. Our names will come up in the credit titles, and if we do not rehearse it enough, that will remain forever. Remember, my friends, if you do anything, you will be associated with it. So it doesn't mean that it has to be the big ticket. No matter what you do, please make sure that you put your everything into it. We made the movie. It never got released. He was right. But there was a gentleman who watched the editing of the movie that was happening. Right next to his monitor was our film called Let's Talk. Have you heard of Let's Talk? Super duper jubilee hit. Never seen by anyone. That's the one I'm talking about. And he's distracted by the next monitor. I said, what's going on that monitor? He's saying it's an experimental film. He said, who's that guy? A Parsi fellow. Send him to me. I went to his house. He gave me dinner, and he gave me a check of 2 lakhs. Not bad for a guy who doesn't understand business, huh? I said, what's this for? And he said, that's for my next film. I said, which is your next film? He said, mere baat picture hi nahi hai. I said, "You'll have another movie and you'll give me 2 lakh rupees." He says, "Because when you decide to join Hindi films, you won't give me dates. That's how good this performance is." I said, "Really?" He says, "Yeah, you won't give me dates." And he gave me a check of 2 lakhs. He disappeared for 7 to 8 months. And then he calls me. And he says, "Yara, कहानी मिल गई, we got the story, कहानी मिल गई, कहानी." I said, "Picture का नाम क्या है?" He said, "Munna Bhai M.B.B.S." So, just by the way, I hated the title. I just, कहानी क्या है? What's the story? अरे यार, एक गुंडा है, वो डॉक्टर बनना चाहता है. A gunda, I mean, a gangster wants to be a doctor. I said, "It's the most ridiculous concept I've ever heard." And I said, "What's my role?" "Tu doctor hai." और पूरा picture में, the whole film, you will laugh. I said, "It's the most ridiculous character I've ever heard of." And I said, no, I can't be doing this movie. This is going to be Raju. I said, "No, who's Raju?" "My assistant." I said, "Well, I'm not making no assistant, man." He said, "Just go meet him. You know what I'm talking about, right?" And he sends me in, this nervous man, said, "Thank you for doing my film." I said, "I'm not doing your film." Anyway, he started telling me the story with so much passion and so much love. He was crying. He was passionate. He was excited. He was laughing as he was cracking the jokes. He was lying on the floor. He was talking. I don't know what this man is so passionate. And I said, "This is a beautiful movie." It sounds like, and this is what your wants should be. We spoke about #want. Your wants should be like this, like Ratatouille. You've heard of the film Ratatouille, right? A rat wants to be a chef. Same story. No, not you, sir. Sorry, I'm not doing it. Not you, sir. A rat wants to be a chef. When a rat enters the kitchen, he's whacked on the head. He's put into some trap or poisoned. But a rat doesn't only want to live in the kitchen, he wants to be a chef. And that's what your wants in life should be. In screenplay writing, they say you must have a want. And if your want is an easy one, your obstacles will be easy. If your want is like Ratatouille, your obstacles will be very, very difficult. But go for the Ratatouille. Go for the Munna Bhai. We shot Munna Bhai in record time and no budget. No budget, nobody took a salary. We did not have money to complete the film. The last shot of Munna Bhai, when we're standing on the stage at the wedding reception, we didn't have money to erect that set. It cost about 1 lakh rupees back in the day. So our set designers said, "If you can't do it, then why don't you gate crash into somebody's wedding?" And the producer said, "Very nice idea." And what we actually did was gate crash into somebody's wedding. We sat behind Namanda. Sunil Dutt Saab, Sanju, Arshad Parsi, Gracie, the cameraman, the director, the producer was sitting behind. And when all the guests left, we ran up to the stage, took the shots, and ran home. So that's your resource. That's your resource. You can't say, "How are we going to do it, man? We don't have money." No, you can. A little bit of guts, a little gumption, and the desire to fulfill the job. And this is how one of India's most beloved films was made. Not because it had lots of money, but because it didn't have money, because they didn't want to work even harder to prove a point to the world. The movie flopped when it opened. Nobody believes it. Nobody went to see the movie. I'm not joking. People say, "Oh, it's a big hit." It's 20 years. It's 20 years since Munna Bhai was released. It's still loved. How many of you have seen Munna Bhai? Not bad. But when the movie opened, there was no one in the theater. And I'm talking single screen. Single screens, the biggest flop would still be houseful on day one. Back in the day. Right? I went in, put on the shop shutter, I used to still sit at the shop there, put on the shutter, go to the Maratha Mandir and say, wow, what's going on? It's such a beautiful movie, but you must never lose hope, right? I stepped out of the movie feeling a little lost. And then I said, I need to hear a voice. You know how it is, I need to hear a voice. I did hear a voice. And the voice went this way, hey, Mamu. And I looked up. He said, Niche dekho. I looked down. There was a lady sitting on the footpath, a very rough-looking lady, sitting on the footpath, and she looked at me. She was my first fan. And no one's ever complimented me like that. You know what she said? You know what she said? She looked at me. She gave me a flying kiss. Yeah, acting kiya tune, Mamu. And I was ecstatic. Not because of anything else. Of course, I got recognized. I had a fan, one fan. But most importantly, she recognized the actor she loved, obviously. And then she said something I'll never forget. She said, Mamu, बहुत पैसा कमाएंगे हम लोग. So I thought she was some producer, distributor who would have 7 or 8 flops in a row and she's on the street now. And she said, I said, आपको कैसे मालूम? मैं black में ticket खरीदती हूँ. बेचती हूँ. She was, yeah. And she said, I know, मुझे मालूम है picture कौन सी डूबती है, कौन सी picture उठेगी. ये picture बहुत चली. I said, wow, I called up Raju Irani. I said, Raju, हमारी picture hit हो गई. So he said, कौन बता? अरे, it's projected as a big super duper jubilee hit. He said, who told you? The trade guy? Taranagar? Cinema? Who said? Who gave you this information? I said, the black market here. He said, you stupid man, stop thinking. He's so upset because the movie is kind of declared a flop. But we don't lose hope ever. Remember, that is your dark night of the soul. You never lose hope even in the all is lost moment. Because if you have worked hard, if not now, 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later, there will be a reward. Hard work never goes unrewarded. And even if it does, it will never exist. Sure enough, the movie became a super hit, right? And we were nominated within a week for 10 awards. And 10 days after that, there were the awards functions because it was released in December. And next thing we know that, oh my God, we've been recognized, we've been mobbed and beautiful. This is beautiful. And the night before the first awards, Arshad Gorsi calls me, meets me and says, oh, what are you wearing tomorrow? I said, what do you mean? So you don't have a suit? I said, no. He said, you're going to win tomorrow. You need a suit. Let's get you a suit. Listen to this. So he calls up Naresh Bhai a masculine. Right? Record that for Naresh Bhai. He calls up Naresh Bhai a masculine and says, I need a suit in 24 hours. He's saying, not possible because it's award season. So he said, please, he'll win. Who? Boman Irani. He said, I don't know any Boman Iranis. Thank God, because these suits are very expensive. So he says, please he might win. For which film? Munna Bhai. Who was in Munna Bhai? The doctor. Oh, the body, he said. Because I was born in the movie. I said, I'll make a suit for him. I said, send someone for measurements. He said, I don't have the time. How are you going to make my suit? So I asked him what his height is. 6'2". He said, I'll make the suit and kal tak bhejega. I said, no, I want a very fancy suit. So he gets on the phone with me and says, Bomanji, Mamu, I'll make the suit. I said, how are you going to make the suit by just knowing my height? Are you going to make the collar up here? I mean, what are you trying to say? So he says, I have a DVD of Munna Bhai videos. Okay? Listen to this. This is Jugaad, as Jugaad of the highest order. And he says, when I play the movie and you come on the screen, and when you're there in full length shot, I'll pause it. And he said, what's your height? 6'2". So if your height is 6'2", on the screen I'll measure you. And do a corresponding ratio. So if it's 10 inches there and you're 6'2" there, I know we do the shoulder length, the arm length, and this thing. Only the waist, I mean, you little round down the waist. We keep it a little loose just to be on the safe side. And I'll say to the student the next day, I was standing under the stage. They didn't have a green room for me back in the day. I was standing under the stage. Awards are going on. Award after award is being announced, and I'm standing there in a towel. In a towel. Prem Chopra comes on stage, and there's this guy saying, hey, that Boman Irani, okay. And I said, yeah, me, and I started wearing a suit. And my name got announced in the nominations, and by the time I was fixing my tie, I'm dramatizing it, of course. I was fixing my tie, Prem Chopra Sahab announced my name. I went around, because I couldn't go all the way in front, otherwise I would have missed it. And I went to the service ramp, I ran up the service ramp, fell, hurt myself, dusted the suit, fell again, hurt my knee again, dusted the suit again, and went on stage. I said to myself, you run all your life. You've fallen many times, you stood up, you dusted yourself, and you moved on. And that's... I collected my first award. Now, there are two little stories I need to share with you before I end. Or maybe three. Almost 3 hours up. Not bad. Sticking to a good time. Some years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, right? Went to Oslo. Right? Went to Oslo. And there was a film festival. I received an award, and they showed 2 or 3 of my films in that festival. And there was an interviewer, and asking me the question, so what next, what this, what that, all that kind of thing. And I said, which magazine do you represent? Which magazine do you think she represented? BT. Yeah. And I said, oh my God, my heart was thumping. And she said, what happened? Saying, young lady, I said, I've got a beautiful story to tell you about a young photographer whose life you impacted through your company's ethics. And I hope to continue in those very footsteps as far as the ethics that you taught me are concerned. You're a young person, but believe me, the company you work for is the most ethical company that I've associated myself with. Ethics, my friends, ethics. That was the theme of the day. It was so beautiful. A few years before that, I went to the Lexington Hotel in New York, and as I entered the hotel, the manager there came to receive me. I was very touched, and it's embarrassing sometimes. They gave me a bouquet of flowers. I said, sir, I can't accept these flowers. I can't. He says, why? I said, please take these flowers from me and give them to your wife. He said, what's the matter with you? He says, nobody's ever behaved like this with me before. I said, please don't misunderstand me. You gave me my first job, Mr. Sambara, and taught me a great lesson that I follow up to this very day. Pay your dues, nothing comes easy. That was the very man who gave me my first job and said, you idiot, go to the basement instead of going to the rendezvous. Do you remember the one story I told you yesterday in Parliament? Now, what am I telling you this story? Why am I telling you these stories? Because the clock goes this way, and that circle will be complete. And remember, garbage in, garbage out. We know that. So, whatever you do in your life, make sure there are ethics that are involved, and that no hard work will go unrewarded. And every single lesson that you learn along the way, you have to follow and find and implement and apply. And hope that you have a lovely circle of life happening for yourself. The rest of my story, you know better than I do, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for